Welcome to Blockchain 2025. We explore how blockchain technology will affect major industries in the future.
Each episode dissects one industry. Industries like e-commerce, gambling, and insurance. How is it currently working? Why can blockchain disrupt it? And some blockchain projects that are trying to be that solution.
Blockchain 2025 is part of the Bitcoin.com podcast network. Learn about Bitcoin, create a wallet, and buy your first Satoshis all at Bitcoin.com.
All right, well, this is the first episode. My name is Matt Aaron.
And I'm Nick Cutnero.
Nick, so a lot of people know me because my face is all over the Bitcoin.com podcast network doing This Week in Bitcoin. But, I'm just kind of the play-by-play guy. You're the talent. So tell us about yourself. Who is Nick?
Well, I appreciate that. I've always dreamed of being defined as the talent in a scenario like this. But professionally, I'm an internet entrepreneur. I own a brand and reputation management agency called The Link Builders. I also own a website called coinreviews.io, and we review coins. I've been in the cryptocurrency space actively for the past year. Once Bitcoin hit $1,000, that was green light go. But prior to that, I've held Bitcoin. I've been interested in blockchain technology, but for now, I enjoy trading. I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars I've locked in hard profit from trading. And I really enjoy business in general, working with clients, still work as an affiliate, generating millions in sales through traditional business as well.
Very cool. And you also dabble in real estate.
I do, which excites me because I look forward to discussing applications of how blockchain technology will impact that industry. But yeah, Matt, I really enjoy real estate. That's really my end game. I know it's kind of boring talking about that on a blockchain or cryptocurrency show, but sometimes the boring things are exciting too.
For sure. And Nick, and I think you can agree with this, we're going to try to paint a picture of an industry in each episode, but there's no way we can predict the future, but we hope to provide you with the tools so that you can make your own decision and pay attention as these industries inevitably change with blockchain technology.
Right on. I've always been of the mindset that success lies in the future, and successful people, they've always seen ahead. They saw something. So the title of this podcast, Blockchain 2025, it's really fitting because in today's episode, I know we're discussing decentralized marketplaces, but looking back in history, somebody saw a need for web-based marketplaces and it being a major role in the future. So I'm really excited to be here talking about current projects and impacts they will have in the future.
Makes sense. So you mentioned decentralized marketplaces. That's the industry we're going to cover today. But Nick, define, we'll say, centralized marketplaces. And I realize there's tons and tons of marketplaces, but what's our definition for this episode?
Definition for this episode is a format where sellers can sell, buyers can buy, and there's some sort of intermediary facilitating these types of transactions, whether it's facilitating processing of payment or the selling or distribution and the logistics of getting goods or services, as the case may be, from party A to party B. That's the definition we'll go off. And if we want real hard examples, let's just take a look at eBay and Amazon.
Perfect. So I appreciate the technical definition, but Amazon and eBay, boom. That's something everyone can relate to. So Nick, let's go into the history. What did Amazon and eBay solve? Bring us back to, I guess, the last millennium, the 1990s. What was going on then?
So 1990s, as an internet entrepreneur, it's near and dear to my heart. Let's start with eBay because for me, I was in my teens and I had the ability to make money online by creating my own auctions, and it allowed me to sell goods. At the time, my thing was CDs, compact discs. For those who might not be familiar, this is before iPod and digital music, but essentially what I was able to do is take compact discs, CDs, create auctions on eBay, and sell to a global audience.
And what type of CDs were you selling?
That's a good question. CDs that people did not want in the USA at the time. So Britney Spears, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys. I would buy them used at a record store out of something they called the dollar bin. So I would buy these 99-cent, $1 CDs, and I'd make a market for them. I'd optimize the listings. I essentially became a merchant at a young age, and I would create manually hundreds and hundreds of these listings for 99-cent auctions, and people would bid them up. And like the businessman I am today, I made sure that the shipping fees provided great margins for myself at the time. So it was a very, very profitable venture before the iPod came out, and I did not have much of a business left simply because the product wasn't the right product at that time.
Wow. And were you on dial-up internet?
At that time, I believe cable signal. We had a cable modem. That was a game changer for me. I was on Napster and other places like that, running amok online. I'm pretty sure my ISP called my parents at times saying, I don't know what he's doing online, but he's hogging a lot of bandwidth.
Right on. Cool. So you've been in the internet game for a while. Like you said, this is close to your heart. So eBay allowed, I remember eBay ruined baseball cards, right? Because before there was all these separate markets, localized markets, and there was the Beckett where you could look up the price. It was like a magazine where you could look up the price of baseball and basketball cards. But eBay kind of created all this transparency. And it's interesting, the transparency, because we're going to talk about how maybe decentralized marketplaces add an additional layer of transparency in terms of censorship, resistance, and things like that. Cool. So eBay was a game changer for a lot of people.
For sure. And then there's the other Goliath in the room, Amazon. And Amazon, founded in 1994, obviously living in the future. They saw something. They saw the ability to connect buyers with sellers. And simply put, it just started with content, a specific product mix, more specifically books. And from there, it grew. More products were featured on Amazon. It attracted more merchants. And I'm a happy Prime subscriber myself. I think they're doing incredible things, even outside of just getting basic utility items delivered to my house quickly at the right price. I really love what they're doing with Kindle, Echo, even Fire TV. They've done some remarkable things, even beyond just letting sellers sell and buyers buy.
Sure. Yeah. Amazon goes way beyond just a marketplace for buyers and sellers. Unlike eBay, which has pretty much stayed the same since it's launched and continued to have success. I will say about Amazon FBA, a lot of people may not know what that is, but FBA is where you can sell on Amazon and you send all your products to an Amazon warehouse and they handle all of the logistics and they take a percentage of sales. And I'm going to give you a rough estimate of what they take. Let's just say it's around 30 to 35%. It can obviously vary. So if you don't know what Amazon FBA is, this was a breakthrough for a lot of people selling because all of a sudden you don't have to go. I'm sure, Nick, in the 90s, you had to go to the post office or FedEx and mail off all of these CDs to Eastern Europe or wherever you were sending them. But with Amazon, they take care of all the logistics for you.
That's funny you brought that up, Matt, because they absolutely hated me at the post office. I would hold the line up for a good 30 minutes. I was young. I'm pretty sure my parents drove me to the post office too. And I would just really interrupt their flow of activity there. The postal workers, they did not care for me, and everyone else on their lunch hour trying to simply mail a letter, well, they felt the wrath of an internet marketer at that time.
Oh, man. I can only imagine. And I'm sure all listeners, and myself included, co-hosts included, are just trying to think of, like, are there any videos of Nick, the teenager, running his business out of his parents' house and going to the post office? Amazing, man. And it's cool to see that you still have the hustle today. Okay, so I think people know what Amazon and eBay are doing now. I think we understand that the benefits of a large centralized marketplace of Amazon and eBay is just the network effect when you have a lot of buyers and a lot of sellers in one place.
eBay and Amazon have traffic. That's what is so appealing, whether they're centralized or decentralized. The key is traffic. And I knew this at a young age. If I optimize the listings for eBay, there's traffic there. People would either be attracted to purchase because of price or because they were actually looking for that item. But we're talking about two multi-billion-dollar per year revenue generating companies, large employers of people in the US creating jobs. There's a lot to be said about the traffic that these sites generate on both sides.
For sure. Yeah. And the network effect is something we're going to come back to in future episodes. One of my beliefs, Nick, is that a lot of these coin startups, they don't understand how important the network effect is, and they have a build it and they will come mentality. I'm making a generalization there, but I do think it's true for a lot of them. Yeah. And so you have to have users or the marketplace is not valuable. But let's move on to the second part of the show. So Nick, let's go into the blockchain. How could the blockchain disrupt centralized marketplaces? And by definition, this would be decentralized marketplaces.
The biggest area that I'm seeing disruption at this moment in time is fees. So going back, and this is many, many years, like 17, 18 years right now, I noticed that fees, especially on eBay, were really eating at my margins. Whether it was a listing fee, whether it was PayPal, and that being the only solution to process payment, fees were a big part of missing out on profit. So at this stage right now, the value proposition, as I'm interpreting it, is a reduction in fees, and there are other benefits we can touch on as well, but that seems to be the driving force at this moment in time of considering the use of a decentralized marketplace versus something centralized.
For sure. And I think this is a good time to separate physical versus digital goods. For digital goods, and we'll include digital work, work done through Upwork and Fiverr, the middleman, right, whether that's Amazon, eBay, Fiverr, Upwork, they take a pretty high percentage, anywhere from 10 to 40%, especially when you count people that are in, we'll say, developing countries where the banking systems charge higher fees than the United States, because they receive all the money from Upwork, and then maybe they make a website for someone or they sell something on eBay. But when they withdraw their money, they might pay an additional 5 to 7% fee.
Right. So I love the format of the show. We're thinking ahead. We're thinking in the future. And at this moment, I'm not 100% sold on the utility, even in the future, of a decentralized marketplace. And I'll tell you why. So you mentioned Fiverr. You mentioned a distributed labor force, I guess, for lack of a better term.
I'm just going to define a decentralized labor force. For those that don't know, there's websites like Upwork and Elance, et cetera, where it's a marketplace for people that make websites. Maybe they do HR work, any type of work that you can do where people can find them online and using the centralized service, hire someone from anywhere in the world to do work for them.
So if fees are the main value proposition of a decentralized marketplace, I would say the use of cryptocurrency in general as the method of exchange between someone offering something and someone providing something would be the solution. It can remain a centralized marketplace, but utilizing a cryptocurrency with low, minimal, or potentially no fees, as the case may be in the future, that would address the fee situation that a lot of people are experiencing today as a pain point.
Okay, and let's just define that in case listeners are getting lost here. What we're saying is a centralized marketplace like Amazon or eBay, instead of using traditional payment processors and banks, they could use cryptocurrencies. Although I guess it would be a little bit complicated in terms of smart contracts. How would Amazon, let's just say we're using Bitcoin for an example here. Nick, if you're the seller and I'm the buyer, how does Amazon would have to just charge me a fee in Bitcoin and then send the rest of my payment to you?
Well, I would say that the fee is justifiable because the traffic is there. And that's the missing link. As an internet marketer, I pay for traffic. I pay for good traffic. As a seller, if I can put, whether it's a good or service provided as a listing in an area of the internet that's going to receive traffic, that fee is really justifiable in a lot of instances. Now, if Amazon were to integrate a cryptocurrency, that would be for convenience. I'm seeing right now for people that want to buy using cryptocurrency and sellers that want to accept in cryptocurrency. But at this current moment in time, being that crypto is somewhat volatile, I don't know if for a centralized marketplace, that's their biggest concern at this moment.
Sure. Well, another thing that I think could be improved by a decentralized marketplace would be privacy and censorship in terms of protecting your information, because there's no doubt about it that the amount of information you get on these centralized marketplaces is pretty high, and then places where you're not allowed to operate. And we'll talk about this later, but Particl, one of the projects trying to solve, made a good point that Amazon, they don't operate in every single country on planet Earth. They have restrictions that limit buyers and even the opportunity to sell their soul for that Game of Thrones special edition Blu-ray box set. So when it comes to censorship, Amazon is not in every country on the world. And I think in all these podcasts, we don't want to look just at the United States, but other developing countries in the world that don't have the same opportunities that a lot of us do in the US. So yeah, Nick, what are your thoughts on the benefits of more privacy and censorship resistance from decentralized marketplaces?
Well, that's a great question. What I think decentralized marketplaces offer is the ability for sellers to basically sell anything. And I say that in air quotes. Obviously, there may be some legal restrictions. And I don't believe that any one of these solution providers today is seeking to create a dark web 2.0. However, the reality is centralized marketplaces have their own discretion whether they want to carry a merchant's product or not. The flip side to that, at any moment in time, the centralized marketplace can compete with a merchant. And I think that scares a lot of business owners selling products.
So how can a centralized merchant compete with a merchant? In this case is Nick selling his CDs, right? But let's just pretend Nick is selling maybe iPhone cases, right? Or iPhone charging cables. You know, Amazon makes their own charging cables, right? Be a really tangible example.
Definitely. So at any moment in time, a Goliath like Amazon can say, hey, we can provide that commodity you're selling too. We can do it for cheaper. We can do it better. So at any moment in time, a merchant could potentially be turned away. And that's crushing if you're a business owner. So decentralized marketplaces do offer that option to live in a world without censorship of goods being featured in a marketplace.
So 100% agreed, Nick. Let's move on to our third segment of the show. Coin startups that are creating decentralized economies and marketplaces. So we have three that were nice enough to give us answers, and we used a lot of their information in the research and development of the show. Particl, Particl, Syscoin, Syscoin, and District0x. Disclaimer, I do own some District0x. So Nick, first off, tell us about Particl.
Sure. Particl is showcasing what a decentralized economy looks like, should be, and is. They're there right now offering a platform for buyers to buy and sellers to sell utilizing a peer-to-peer network, which allows for the exchange of a variety of cryptocurrencies. Makes sense.
And there's also encrypted messaging similar to Signal or Telegram and pure confidentiality. Okay, now we'll link to all this in our show notes, but they can be found at Particl.io. Now there's another one that's similar in a few ways called Syscoin, Syscoin. Tell us about Syscoin.
I think Syscoin is doing something very similar to Particl, but a competitive advantage I see Syscoin having right now is their token is actually featured on more exchanges, and that could potentially give them a competitive advantage if more people are holding token, if more people are speculating on the future success. That could give Syscoin a real competitive advantage in a scenario where there are more than one blockchain technology companies competing for the same market share.
Right on. Okay, so Syscoin, similar to Particl, they have their native token as well, which is actually used in the transactions. Where Particl, you can use Bitcoin or any other types of coins. Now, what about District0x?
So I really like District0x's approach. They're essentially providing the framework for somebody or a business or an entity to create their own decentralized marketplace. It's essentially the Shopify equivalent for decentralized marketplace creators. Above and beyond, they've showcased proof of concept with Ethlance, and I think they have a new one that is going to be coming out called Meme Factory.
And listeners, Ethlance is just like we mentioned those decentralized labor forces like Elance and Upwork. Elance is a decentralized labor force platform where you can find and hire talent using Ethereum. But Nick, what is Meme Factory?
Meme Factory is a decentralized marketplace that encourages the exchange of rare digital art. So essentially, it's a digital asset that is desirable, limited, and would be considered a crypto collectible, for lack of a better term. And it's an environment where the sellers can sell freely, there's identity protection, and for buyers, it's just a very simple way of accessing something that they may desire or may find valuable in the future and being able to transact with very little resistance.
Gotcha. And so CryptoKitties, which was in the news, crypto celebrities, which we mentioned in This Week in Bitcoin, all these rare digital assets can be bought and sold there. Yeah, and I like the idea of having a platform so you don't have to start from zero and you can create your own decentralized marketplace. It's more of a protocol. So it's not competing with Particl and Syscoin, but just you can create your own specialized marketplaces. And I think specialized marketplaces we've seen, look at Craigslist and how many startups like Airbnb is the easiest example, taking one section, the short-term rentals, and making a specialized marketplace that's dedicated to one of the thousands of categories that Craigslist has to offer. Okay, well, to conclude, Nick, let's give some final thoughts to the listeners about decentralized marketplaces going into the future.
For sure. So let's think ahead right now. Competitive advantage of a decentralized marketplace is added level of security. It protects personal information. With a centralized marketplace, and we can look back last year at the Equifax hacks, people are concerned about their privacy, about their personal information, about hacks, and a variety of other threats. Decentralized marketplaces address that. On the flip side, a challenge might be shipping physical products. Doing that identifies a location, which then may compromise identity. So I really think in the future, digital products, digital assets will be the play for decentralized marketplaces.
Agreed. I'm going to say digital products will definitely be the first play. It's hard to predict the future with drones and automated shipping solutions, but there's no doubt about it that digital before physical goods. Well, this was our first episode. Everything can be found at Bitcoin.com/podcast and then click on Blockchain 2025. So Nick, what industry are we covering next week?
We'll be covering the gambling industry next week.
As a poker player, sports bettor, sorts of gambling throughout my life, I'm really excited for that show. Special thanks to the 3 startups mentioned in this show, Particl, Syscoin, and District0x. All 3 of them gave us valuable insights that helped us form this episode. All right, well, this is Blockchain 2025, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Bitcoin.com podcast network. To learn more about our shows, visit Bitcoin.com/podcast. Bitcoin.com podcast network.